If the internet permanently crashed tomorrow, you think your biggest problem would be communication? You're wrong. Within 48 hours, a terrifying realization would set in. You wouldn't just lose your ability to text. You would realize you have already lost half of your own mind. For hundreds of thousands of years, your memory was the only thing keeping you alive. Your ancestors had to remember which berries were toxic, where the watering hole was during a drought, and the exact faces of rival tribe members. The human brain, specifically the hippocampus, evolved as a biological hard drive. It encoded experiences, facts, and navigation into physical, structural neural pathways. For most of human history, you literally were your memory. But evolution is also brutally efficient. The human brain consumes 20% of your body's energy. It hates doing unnecessary work. So, early humans developed a brilliant workaround. Psychologists call it transactive memory. You didn't need to remember how to build a fire if you knew the guy in your tribe who was an expert at it. You didn't need to memorize the migratory patterns of deer if the elders already knew. We started storing our memories inside other people. We became a collective, walking hard drive. And for millennia, that system worked perfectly. The tribe shared the cognitive load, but then we handed that load over to a machine. In 2011, a psychologist named Betsy Sparrow at Columbia University noticed something strange happening to her own memory. She ran a series of experiments that would completely change our understanding of the modern brain. She gave participants a list of trivia facts to type into a computer. Half of the participants were told the computer would save what they typed. The other half were told the information would be instantly erased. The results were staggering. The people who believed the computer would save their notes made almost no cognitive effort to remember the facts. Their brains completely let go of the information. But here is the terrifying part. When Sparrow tested them later, they couldn't remember the facts, but they perfectly remembered exactly which folder on the computer the facts were saved in. Sparrow called it the Google effect or digital amnesia. Your brain has realized that a smartphone is essentially an omniscient, infallible tribe member. It knows everything. And because your brain is desperate to conserve energy, the moment you realize you can just look something up later, your hippocampus actively refuses to encode it into long-term storage. Think about your own life. 20 years ago, the average person could recite a dozen phone numbers from memory. Today, you probably don't even know the number of the person you sleep next to. You don't memorize directions, you follow a blue dot on a screen. You don't memorize historical dates, recipes, or basic math. You don't even remember your own vacations without scrolling through your camera roll to remind yourself what you did. We tell ourselves that this is a good thing. We are freeing up cognitive space for higher level thinking, for creativity, for deep problem solving. But neurologically speaking, that isn't what is happening. When you stop exercising a muscle, it doesn't wait patiently to be used for something better. It atrophies. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology found that this reliance on the internet isn't just erasing facts from our heads, it is actively blurring the line between the machine and the self. When participants used Google to answer questions, they subsequently reported a higher baseline confidence in their own personal intelligence. They genuinely believed their own brains were smarter. They could no longer distinguish between what they actually knew and what the internet knew for them. You are experiencing a cognitive merger. You are outsourcing your internal world to a server farm thousands of miles away. And this brings us back to the original question. What happens if it all goes dark? If you lost your phone right now and could never get another one, the silence wouldn't be the worst part. The worst part would be the emptiness. You would realize you have built a life where the machine does the remembering and you just do the existing. Without your photos, your calendar, your search history, and your GPS, a massive chunk of your identity would simply evaporate. For most of human history, an individual's identity was constructed from the stories they could tell, the skills they had mastered, and the knowledge they held in their own head. Today, you are treating a silicon chip as an external hard drive for your soul. You aren't just losing your ability to navigate or recall a phone number. You are slowly, voluntarily dismantling the internal architecture of your own mind, handing it over to a glowing rectangle and calling it convenience. The internet gave us access to all the knowledge in human history, but the price we paid was our ability to hold on to any of it ourselves. We have never known so much. and we have never been so entirely empty.